All right. Hello, gamers. It's been, what, a month and a half? Sorry for the wait. And today's video is sponsored by EA. Let's take a look at all the new stuff coming with Season 10 that has been shown off so far. Now, we don't have anything on the actual Apex Legends website in terms of the patch notes and balance changes that are coming, but we do have an article that's gone up a little early from GameSpot, which I will link an archive.org link in the description box below for you all to read through, that has some of the balance changes coming. There's a map update for World's Edge and all that. We're not going to get too deep into that for this video. Just talking new legend, new weapon, balance updates, and all that little stuff. So Seer is first up. He is our brand new legend for Season 10. He is going to be a recon legend like Bloodhound, Crypto, and those other ilk. His abilities are going to be, let's just say it, I'm not super excited for them. I was really excited for his passive when I first heard about it. I was really excited for his ultimate when I first heard about it. But then we have his tactical, we have his Q, and I've gone from being very excited to very worried for the future of Apex with this legend in the video game. So, first off, we have the passive, Heartseeker. While you aim down sights, Seer can hear the heartbeat of nearby legends, helping them discover their location. In and of itself, pretty interesting. It's a weird mechanic tying the ability to hear things better to aiming down sights. I'm not sure why those things are tied together and why he couldn't just hear the heartbeats better always, but neat, I suppose. Definitely great for if you have an enemy rat squad that you're concerned about. This can help you to track them down and get rid of them. I mean, I suppose a Bloodhound Q would do that as well, but I mean, hey, this is a passive, which is pretty neat. Let's just skip over to the ultimate, and then we'll do the tactical ability last. His ultimate is called Exhibit. You throw out this device called a heart chamber, which releases hundreds of mini drones that form a sphere. And this is a very, very large AoE sphere. Enemies that move quickly or fire their weapons inside the sphere are marked, revealing location and footsteps to Seer and his allies. So this is basically giving your full team wall hacks on any enemy who is running or shooting their weapon. If you crouch walk through it, you will not be spotted by the ability. So that is a key note to make. Also, this heart chamber can be destroyed, much like a Crypto drone or a Horizon ultimate. Finally, though, and this is where things get, for me, spicy. The tactical ability, Focus of Attention. Seer releases several mini drones, and after a delay, they mark all enemies in front of him, interrupting their use of healing items, interrupting their revives, and revealing their locations and their health to Seer and his allies for 8 seconds. So your Q is a Bloodhound Q that will reveal enemy locations to your teammates for 8 seconds. Plus, it tells your entire team the exact health values of everyone in your queue. Plus, it interrupts their heals. Plus, it interrupts their revive. Why is this not an ultimate? This better be on like a 5-minute cooldown. Because doing this, I mean, this is just press Q, do everything. Like, it might as well make you move twice as fast for 8 seconds as well at this point. This is, and the amount of utility in this ability is, quite frankly, just unhealthy from what it is sounding like in the article posted thus far. Now, at least it's not preventing you from healing or reviving at all over the course of 8 seconds. It's just an interrupt. But still, how many times have you been in a very tense situation where you are out of position, or you thought you were in a 1v1, but then 2 other people jumped in and you're in a 1v3 and you're trying to run away, or you're trying to clutch up because your teammates are dead, and you need to hit that clutch battery because you've gotten yourself just enough distance, just the right angle, whatever, in order to hit that last heal and give yourself an extra 100 health on your purple before you go back into the fight and try to clutch it out. Seer just says no to that. And Seer doesn't even need to put himself at risk. He just presses Q, deletes your healing item, effectively, and then his teammates walk in and finish you off. This is going to make some of the like Revenant, Octane, hold W, no brain kind of stuff people have been complaining about, way worse. And I really don't like this ability. I very much don't think that this is going to be healthy for the game. I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope that maybe this is just something that was lost in translation by GameSpot, and it is not actually accurate to how the ability works, because as it stands, it seems really, really bad for the game. Next up, let's move on from Seer. We have some buffs and nerfs for some of the legends coming in Season 10. This is not an all-encompassing list. We only have a few of them that have been spoiled by GameSpot thus far, so let's at least go through what we do know. Caustic is going to be buffed, first and foremost. Normally, his gas will deal 5 damage per tick, and it does 1 tick per second. What they are doing now is making it so it will increase in damage every other second or every other tick. So it'll basically go 5-5, 6-6, 7-7, 8-8, etc. There is no upper limit. There is no cap. It will just keep increasing and increasing and increasing on every second tick. To kind of balance that a little bit, the gas cloud created by his ultimate is going to dissipate 5 seconds sooner. Honestly, I think I'm pretty okay with this change so far. I have had many fights ever since the most recent Caustic nerfs where I literally have not cared at all about being in Caustic gas. I would happily chase people through gas. I would happily run into it and take 1v1 duels while in the gas, because the amount of damage that I took while in that fight was just too low for me to care about. I just completely ignored it, and the only time it mattered was when my health actually started to get very, very low, which was not frequent. So overall, I appreciate the Caustic is going to become a little bit more lethal for when you actually are forced to fight in his gas. It should be a scary thing, and it should not be something you just shrug off and don't care about. But at the same time, his ultimate, even with the reduced damage, it just lasted for a very, very long time, and it was very, very annoying. So making it a little bit more dangerous, but by comparison, just having a little bit less duration, I think is an okay trade-off. Next up, we have a Revenant Nerf. Enemies will now get an audible and a visual indication when Death Totem's death protection is about to end, letting them know that Revenant and his allies are about to be vulnerable. I don't think this is really that huge of a deal, but I mean, it's certainly something. I don't know that Revenant is really the legend out of all of them that needs to be nerfed. It's kind of more like, it's been a couple years. We still haven't figured out the footstep situation. We still haven't addressed kind of the Octane silent quote-unquote jump pad situation. Like, a lot of this stuff has to stem from audio issues, from these teams getting in on you silently too quickly without you being able to know about it. Even if you have $800 headphones and a nice DAC and amp, and you have everything cranked up really loud, and it's, you just still just can't hear the footsteps when you need to hear them, at least not consistently. Sometimes you do, and you can actually take the fight and things go okay, but it's too often that you just don't hear them. I understand that this has been an ongoing, very, very difficult problem for Respawn to tackle. I appreciate that and understand it, but I mean, at the end of the day, like, that is kind of what is causing all of these problems, much more so than anything else, really. Next up, we have a buff to Horizon. Hopefully she is actually playable once again. Horizon's ability to maneuver while in her gravity lift is adjusting to be closer to how it was in Season 7, prior to her substantial nerfs in following seasons. But it's not a total revert. So what percentage of movement speed she has for Season 10 exactly, we don't know. But it's going to be somewhere between her crazy nerfed value and her original overpowered value. Hopefully it's a little bit more reasonable to actually track her AD strafing inside of her gravity lift, because the launch version was just way too much, and the nerf made it so... I mean, it was all right, but like not amazing. Something in between there where it's just slightly better than where it's at now, I think would be good. But, you know, if we were to say that like where it's at now is 0% and where it was at Season 7 is 100%, I would not really want it to go more than to like a 25 to 35% like positive change from that nerfed value. Something around there, I think. Just off the top of my head, if I had to throw a number at you, that roughly seems right. Finally, for the legend changes that we know about, Fuse will be getting a buff. I do not agree with this first of 2 buffs, but hey, I'm happy to have them because I very much like playing Fuse. First up, Fuse's Knuckle Cluster will last twice as long, allowing him to deny areas for twice as long. You know what Fuse is really good at? Sticking opponents directly with his Knuckle Clusters and doing like 30-ish damage every time. It's really easy to stick people with these things on accident. Not even trying to stick them, just shooting it near them and it like homes in and like bullet magnetisms or something onto them. I don't even know. There have been so many opportunities, so many instances of playing Fuse, and that Knuckle Cluster just zoops right onto an enemy when I wasn't even trying to do that, and I do a lot of damage to them. So you're telling me that I've got 2 charges Knuckle Cluster, and they last twice as long? That's a lot of damage. That is a lot of damage. That's so much damage. Like, Fuse is a legend that they've always been kind of scared of over-buffing with the Q, because having the ability to just throw AoE damage out like that repeatedly without technically losing any resources you've collected from the map, it's pretty wild. I don't agree with this change. Like, Fuse is plenty strong. Sure, he's not like an ALGS tier legend, but like, if you're just gonna play pubs, he's good. Like, you use your Qs, you stack up on arc stars, and you stick people from ridiculous ranges, and with the really, really fast projectile speed of his grenades with his passive, like, all of that stuff was great. I really don't think that making his Knuckle Cluster stronger is the right move. I very much do not think that. And a change that I do agree with, though, we have a buff to his ultimate. Enemies that are caught in the Mother Load will be highlighted, even if they're in a building or behind a wall, making it easier for Fuse and his allies to plan their follow-up attack. This, to me, reads like one of Respawn's first admissions that the thermite effects in this game obscure enemies so much that it's very difficult to track them well and actually fight them. I'm really happy that we get to actually be able to see the person we're shooting at now. That seems really great. The person who is caught inside of the Mother Load, inside of the ultimate, should be at a disadvantage by not being able to see out as clearly as they should be, while I can see them very clearly. That should be a detriment they should have by being stuck in this ultimate. That seems like a fairly good design, especially with how many legends have movement abilities, or how often there's going to be something that they can climb up or jump around or wall bounce or whatever just to get over the Mother Load and just jump right out. Like, with people's ability to get out of there either with abilities or straight up skill or good positioning, like, there are ways out of it. So I'm very much in favor of this change. The Mother Load should be a little scarier than it currently is, and I very much like that instead of just giving people free damage or something like that, they kind of introduce a little bit more of a potential outplay, or at least a potential, like, hey, maybe make this push you wouldn't otherwise make, Fuse, and try to take that gunfight, because if you make this weird push, you're technically going to be at a little bit of a visual advantage, and you can actually see them clearly, and you can shoot them. Or you just have knowledge of where they are and what they're doing, and you can plan your next movement to counter that escape. Or, you know, there's all kinds of opportunities and ways that this could go. But overall, I'm very happy about this change for Fuse. I would have happily taken just this alone and been singing Fuse's praises. But that other buff, oh man, I'm going to be playing a lot of Fuse in Season 10, I tell you what. Next up, we have a brand new weapon, the Rampage Lmg. This is a brand new heavy ammo LMG with a very low fire rate. I don't have exact numbers for you, but, you know, I guess I could go into like the gameplay reveal trailer and math it out, but it doesn't really matter. We'll get those values in a couple of days, so don't worry about that. We'll just wait for that to come out. But this is a high damage, low rate of fire LMG with the ability to be charged like the Sentinel. However, instead of using shield cells, it uses thermite grenades. And when you plug a thermite grenade into the Rampage, it gains an increased rate of fire. I think even the increased rate is probably still slower than any other LMG, but, you know, you're not losing damage. You're just getting free rate of fire, which is an increase in DPS, which this is an improvement to your TTK, as long as you can control the recoil and all that, which we don't have a lot of good info on. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm here for another weapon coming in the game. Like, that's cool. That's fine. Like, it's a low fire rate LMG, which is something that we don't have yet. This is something technically new. This is untreaded water for Respawn, at least from Titanfall 1 and 2. This is like a completely new kind of archetype of LMG, so I'm excited at least for that to see how it ends up turning out. Now, the part that again, like, there is a major complaint with this that I do have, and that's when you plug in the thermite grenade to this LMG, it gains the ability to destroy doors. Not open them like many weapons have, but destroy doors. So just, this seems potentially very bad for high-level ranked and tournament-level play. There's already been a lot of concern about both Fuse and Valkyrie having tactical abilities which are able to destroy doors from a distance, and being able to just grief another team's doors while they're caught in other fights, while you're safe somewhere else in the circle, and just griefing other teams. There's been a lot of concerns raised by a lot of pros about that. Like, especially way back when Fuse was being announced, there was a lot of concern about that being a thing. And even before Fuse was announced, in like under NDA embargo testing that some of us have done. Like, I'm not going to name names, but there were absolutely people that were concerned about that, and adding more and more things that let you break doors from range is a very frightening proposition for those higher level games. I don't know exactly what to think about this one, because I generally do not play ranked in Apex Legends. I only play it 1, maybe 2 days a week. And otherwise, I'm more focused on real life lately, which is why, you know, less videos, streams, whatever, yada, yada. No one cares. So I don't have the best tap on that side of things. So I very strongly recommend you look at some other videos or streams from other more prominent content creators who do play ranked, who do know the game at that level, because this is spooky to me, right? I don't like the fact that a gun that any legend can have is able to break doors from range. I really do not like that. And I hope that it's not as strong or annoying as I think it's going to be. And finally, rounding this video out, we have a few weapon and hop-up rotation changes between care packages and the ground loot and whatever. So, first up, the Prowler is coming out of the care package and is once again going to be a ground loot weapon. However, it's burst fire only. You cannot use full auto mode on it. There will be no select fire at all. It's only burst. So, you win some, you lose some, I guess. Like, a lot of people say, oh, but the burst fire has a TTK of 0.01 seconds faster. Yeah, okay, whatever. No one cares. Like, it's totally just a feel thing at this point. Because, like, the DPS or TTK for both modes are so similar that, like, I don't think it really matters too much, you know, which one is technically optimal in each situation, because they're so close. This is more just a matter of, like, man, I really like using the Prowler on full auto because it just feels good to me on that mode. I enjoy using the weapon on that mode. So, for people like me who love the Prowler, but specifically on full auto, it's going to be a bit of an adjustment to being forced to use burst, but I can think of many worse things in the world, so we'll get over it. Now, in place of the Prowler, we have 2 weapons going back into the care package. First up is the Spitfire, and the second, this may shock you, chat, is the Alternator. Now, the Spitfire is going to be reverted to its pre-nerf state, and the Alternator will come equipped with Disruptor rounds. If you all remember that from Season 2. I hate it. I hate it all so much. I like the Alternator. The Alternator is already a good gun. It was great for like the early to mid game, where that thing could carry you all the way to end game when you finally got an R9 or an R301, whichever direction you decided to go with your light build. It was just an overall good weapon for the video game. And I really liked how it smoothed out the otherwise poor loot drops you might get when dropping hot. Like, the alternator was just that good enough weapon that would carry you for multiple team fights, and like if you play with it well, it was good enough, right? Like, you could compete with a really good R9 player, you could compete with the Peacekeeper player, you could compete with the whoever. Like, it was just a versatile, not best in class at anything, but just solid all-around weapon that I'm very sad to miss. Now, I mean, at least the Prowler is coming back, which can fill that void, hopefully, very, very well. But still, part of me is a little bit sad that the alternator is going in, and a part of me is horrified of what, you know, Disruptor Round Alternator coming back to the game is going to feel like. But it's care package, so it's a lot more palatable in that context. Next up, we have some hop-up changes. Anvil Receiver is leaving the game again. I don't know why. I'm very sad about this, but it is leaving again. Also, Quick Draw is being removed from the game, and it is going to be automatically and fundamentally implemented into pistols to a lesser degree. So every pistol you have is now going to have a slight Quick Draw benefit. So all of them are getting better hipfire and better handling times. So pretty interesting. Just remember, Respawn, don't give it to the Wingman. But you know it's going to happen. Wingman's going to get buffed. Now, in the place of these replaced hop-ups, we have one new one called Boosted Loader. This hop-up goes on the Hemlock and the Wingman, changing the guns so that they reload faster and get bonus ammo if reloaded at the right time. That's right, Gears of War active reloads are now in the game, and it's on the Hemlock for I don't know why. And it's on the Wingman for I don't know why. The Wingman does not need this buff. The Hemlock, literally anything else for the hop-up would have been cool, but okay, we can now technically check the box and say the Hemlock has a hop-up. Fantastic. Next up, we have some L-Star changes, which are very exciting for me because I very much like the L-Star, but I'm also scared it might make the gun too good and just buff energy weapons a little bit too much in general, but only time will tell. L-Star can now take barrel stabilizers, ! As well as extended energy mags, ! Higher level energy mags will increase the time it takes for the L-Star to overheat, and it will cause it to cool down faster when it does overheat, which basically is just a glorified reload animation anyways. I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty terrified of the L-Star with these changes. I really am. I like the L-Star as it is already. I admit that it's not the best weapon, and I'm gonna change it out pretty early on in the game, but for those hot drops, if I have to get an L-Star, like, I will rock that thing, and I will rock some people with it. It is a very fun weapon for me to use, so having buffs for it, I mean, cool. Like, I'm gonna slap some kids with the L-Star, that's for sure, but I just hope that this isn't a bit too much for not only the L-Star, but just the energy weapon economy in general. Because generally, it feels like energy ammo is often a little bit harder to come by, the attachments are just a little bit harder to come by, and it's kind of RNG based on like how many people are finding these vaults and can actually use the vault and stack up the vault with good enough hop-ups and or not hop-ups, but attachments and ammo to actually run them into late game for you to, you know, kill them and take their stuff and run it into late game yourself. Like, having L-Stars to smooth that maybe is good for the game, maybe not. This is a very speculative set of ideas, and I don't know, but it's something to look out for sure, and something to be aware of. I'm definitely going to be very scared of L-Star users for sure. All right, 3 more small changes, and then we're done. The EVA's fire rate, not at base, but with the individual separate shotgun bolts, is being reduced. So your base fire rate is the same, but the amount of benefit that you get from each shotgun bolt rarity is going to be decreased slightly. How much? Don't have exact numbers, but the EVA 8 at a purple bolt is going to be shooting a little bit slower than the current EVA with purple bolt. Basic EVA is going to, I think, be the same. Next up, additional reload speed will no longer be tied to extended magazines starting in Season 10. Instead, the trait will now be tied to your weapon stock. I think this makes pretty good sense for everything except snipers. I don't really like the fact that reload speed is going to the stock type for the charge rifle, because the charge rifle is meant to be a glacially, horrendously slowly reloading weapon. It kind of has to be, given its hit scan, long range nature. Just has to. And it didn't have the ability to, put on a magazine attachment. So you could never make that reload speed faster. And I think that was very important to keeping the charge rifle balanced. I don't like this for that weapon specifically. For everything else, it's kind of whatever. Like, I'm not incredibly for or opposed for any other weapon in the game that immediately comes to mind. But the charge rifle specifically, I hope Respawn could make an exception for and just not allow it to have faster reloads under any circumstance, because that's kind of the point of the weapon, in my opinion. And then lastly, also along this same train of thought, Marksman Rifles will no longer use standard stocks. They will instead use sniper stocks. So your 30-30 repeater, your G7 Scout, etc. Sniper Scouts now. Sniper Scouts? Sniper stocks now. And with that, chat, we have some of the Season 10 balance updates. This is not my favorite update, gotta be honest. But we can't evaluate anything too harshly until we get a real chance to play it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure you hit the link in the description box for the article from which I am pulling this information so you may read it as well. We'll see you all again very soon, hopefully. Take care.